You fly into Cincinnati, but land in Kentucky, not metaphorically, not figuratively. You fly into the major Cincinnati area airport and land in Boone County, Kentucky. That's when you realize something's off. The map isn't lying, but it isn't exactly telling the truth either. Because while the skyline says Ohio, the jobs, the homes, the growth, they've shifted into northern Kentucky. As the Cincinnati that made itself famous, the Queen of the West, with its steamboats and stockyards, the place that invented professional fire departments and had 500,000 citywide residents by 1950, is no more. But this isn't just another story of unfortunate Rust Belt decline. It's the story of a city that drifted, not withered, away. Because deindustrialization, suburban flight, and disinvestment hit different when jobs didn't leave the country or even the region. They just took I-71 south about 15 miles to the cities of Covington, Newport, and Florence. And this isn't a single story anyway, it's three: the fall, the shift, and the forward. The fall. Being Queen of the West wasn't just a clever nickname, it was a reminder that Cincinnati anchored an entire region. But cities age, and being founded in 1788, Cincinnati is an old city. Union Terminal, once a monument to railway glory, has become a museum, while an endless maze of sprawling neighborhood blocks built for decades of expected industrial growth has become a cautionary tale for a city having too much ambition. Because value is measured in functioning city budgets, growing populations, and healthy labor markets. Not in a beautiful but aging skyline, a shiny facade of opulence surrounded by a city where the future fades into the shadows of its past. The shift. The factories didn't collapse overnight and the jobs didn't vanish in a single year. The development just moved south and the families stopped coming back. There wasn't a headline, and you don't need to check your spam folder for a missed newsletter. It just started happening, one warehouse at a time, one tax incentive at a time, one subdivision, and so on. But businesses would open on the Kentucky side, they'd call themselves Cincinnati companies, and with enough time, that just became the truth. Then before you knew it, northern Kentucky had the major international airport, the million-gallon aquarium. It's where the new shopping plazas and affluent neighborhoods were being built, and they did it with fewer zoning restrictions and lower property taxes. That's because sometimes it's easier to just start over than to fix what's actually wrong, especially when the new comes with plenty of incentives and wide open lands. Cincinnati, Ohio is still there. It's still a beautiful city, still historic, just burdened with aging infrastructure, pension obligations, and a public school system that has lost over 9,000 students since 2005. There are now entire blocks where the homes are worth less today than a generation ago. Some of them just sit on the market, quietly waiting for a revival in a metro that's arguably booming. Meanwhile, Boone County, where Cincinnati's airport anchors the new $1.5 billion Amazon Air Hub, has a median income of $82,000. In Cincinnati, it's under $50,000. Home values in Boone have risen by 45% since 2015, while far too much of Cincinnati proper is flat. Not symbolically, not quietly, just literally, people moved south. Consider the daily life of a local family. They live in Florence, work in Edgewood, and send their kids to a charter school in Fort Thomas, all without stepping foot on Ohio asphalt. That isn't an edge case, it's become typical. Because while the downtown stayed in Ohio, the future moved south. Businesses that wanted more flexibility, more land, and fewer restrictions only needed to cross the river. DHL, Fidelity, Bosch, dozens of employers followed the same route as the residents, right over the Brent Spencer. Fidelity's massive Covington campus now rivals anything on the Ohio side. Like Amazon's 600-acre expansion anchoring its $1.5 billion air hub, it was made possible by policies Kentucky actively courted. Boone County offered them millions in local abatements. And it goes deeper. Kentucky invests heavily in infrastructure that enables development: 6-lane expressways, widened corridors, zoning tracts approved before a use case even comes up. It's not flashy, this isn't the new Silicon Valley or Wall Street, it's just Cincinnati slipping southward enough to almost feel like it's slipping away. This wasn't an accident. Ohio wanted growth too. The difference is that Kentucky was willing to fight for it, to make serious statewide changes if that's what it took to make this area a success. You can see it in the housing permits. Boone County issued over 1,000 in a recent year. Cincinnati proper, barely a third of that. Or look at retail. Cincinnati has the brand, but northern Kentucky has the foot traffic. The Newport Pavilion pulls shoppers from both sides for Target, Kroger, and big box convenience. Meanwhile, longtime Cincinnati malls like the now defunct Forest Fair are ghostly reminders of better days. Even demographics tell the same story. Boone County's 20% growth since 2010 wasn't just people, it was purchasing power. The median age trended downward, educational attainment climbed, household formation outpaced housing stocks. While Cincinnati either grew slightly or didn't grow at all, adding about 10,000 residents at the time of the last census, after decades of unending decline, something that stripped 40% of the city's population from its 1950s peak. The forward. As more and more families cross the river, they find the homes are newer, that the schools are better funded, that dreadful zoning is simply frictionless. But here's the irony. Northern Kentucky may have taken all the growth, but it's also keeping Cincinnati afloat. Without the good jobs, the airport, and the suburban tax base just across the river, the Ohio side might have slipped even further. As this new Cincinnati, the one with smoother roads and fuller schools, still draws people in with a skyline that technically belongs to someone else. In most cities that straddle state lines like St. Louis or Kansas City, the original city remains the economic core. The metro blurs, but the city's gravity does hold. Here, the gravity doesn't just blur, it moved. So the Cincinnati name, the towering skyline live on, but the value, purpose, growth, the momentum, they already crossed the Ohio. Though to be fair, it may be Cincinnati lost nothing, as Cincinnati's good jobs still count on either side of the river, and tourism is up, bringing new dollars into the downtown, where the skyline still shines over an entire metro. But what do you think? Is Northern Kentucky the new Cincinnati? Or is it just a growth area of the greater MSA? Thanks for watching, please subscribe and check out this video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy next.